I'm Michael Reese.
And I'm Woods Davis.
And this is the Digital President Podcast.
We've cracked the code for generating customers online for every business model.
In fact, we wrote the book on it.
We've built multiple multi-million-dollar businesses in as little as 90 days. And the one truth that we discovered is
the best business model is doing what you love and living your life by strategy.
You truly can follow your passion and create the life of your dreams,
as long as you have the right strategy.
If you're a real estate agent and you'd like to learn how you can partner with us to help you implement our strategies and systems in your business so you can make a lot more money and have a lot more time freedom, all without ever paying us a penny or giving up a percentage of your commission, go to partnershipdetails.com and schedule a call with us today. While it's fresh in your mind, go to partnershipdetails.com. Now on to the podcast.
All right, everybody, welcome to another inspired episode of the Digital President Podcast. And today I'm going to go on record because I actually said to somebody last week, if you said that I said this, I would say that I didn't say it. But it's an important point. It's very, very important. It's a real problem out there for a lot of people. And so we want to address it. And the topic is going to be where to start. What do you do when you got $0, right? What do you do when you don't have money? And this is a very interesting topic. I wish I could take the sum of my last 10 conversations with probably 3 or 4 different individuals. But the reason I'm doing this and the reason I think me and Woods have both decided is if you received this episode from us personally, then you need to pay attention. You need to get a pen. You need to write it down because we recorded this for you in advance. What's up, brother? How are you doing?
Man, I'm doing great. I'm super excited to be in the studio recording today, man.
Absolutely, man. So here's the problem. Let me lay the table. So obviously we have a good friend in Florida having a few challenges when he was getting up started. For those of you that don't know, we partner with agents across North America. And let me go on the record and say, if you're at stage 3 and 4 and you want to generate leads, we don't have a problem. You know, the biggest problem is a lot of the times, I've used a lot of different metaphors, but a lot of the times I could give you my car, but if it's on E and you don't have any gas money, well, it doesn't matter which car I give you, you still have a big problem. You don't have enough fuel to get to where you want. So there's this natural dynamic out there that is, you know, what I think inspired me the most was a friend of mine, a good friend, great friend of mine, had a discussion on the way to the airport, and he said, but Mike, doesn't that go against what you believe? I mean, you and Woods wrote the book on attraction. You know, everything you're doing is about attraction. And so anyway, let's tackle this big question. And I'm gonna tell you what I said, but I'm gonna pose the question to you like it was posed to me. Hey, Woods, you know, first of all, I'll be I'm the client. We'll give my name as Phil, and I'm in Florida. And first of all, one of the big indicators that identifies somebody who's having challenges when it comes to this department is, you know, they really need the 17th lead that they get to convert. And that's a red flag. Like, if you think lead number 17, 54, 43, 57 is going to convert, you got a problem. And the problem that you have is you have no pipeline, right? And so here's the question, you know, that was posed to me. Is it against what you believe? And I could only go backwards and share what I actually did. And this individual cut me off in literally mid-sentence, 3 minutes in. And I was getting up and running. And they said, that's exactly what I did. And I was like, you see what I'm saying? This is like, we got to tell people what we really did. And here, going on record, There was a point when I was in real estate that I couldn't order a pizza. I remember going to Mr. Jim's and calling them and them telling me the price and me logging into my account because I was in a position at that particular time. I was very young. I'd made a big, huge leap into real estate. I was in a situation where the amount that was in my checking account to order a pizza was not enough in that account. Now, I was going to get some money. I had some money coming in, but it wasn't there yet. And so it's really going back in time, back into the future and saying, if you were there, if you started all over from scratch, and you could not invest in lead generation, what would you do? And is that different from attracting?
Well, first of all, I would say that the overarching principle is that you need to have conversations in order to get appointments, in order to sell homes. And that's just the flat out truth. You're never going to sell a home from a lead. You're never going to sell a home from a text message. You're never going to sell a home from a post on social media. You're going to have to talk to another human being. And so all marketing is doing, whether you're doing lead generation or any other type of marketing, is it's initiating conversations. It's getting somebody to raise their hand who might be interested in buying or selling a home and connecting the two of you, giving you a reason to be able to make that contact and have a conversation. So I would say the first thing first is establish a goal around conversations per day that you're going to have. I'll just say what I believe. I believe that the magic number that you should shoot for, especially if you're new, especially if you're just starting out, you should try to be making 20 contacts every single day. If you make 20 contacts a day, you're going to win in real estate. I believe that if you're having 20 conversations with potential buyers and sellers, and then the question becomes, well, where are they going to come from?
And here I'm gonna chime in because I want to use this as a tool for people in the future. So I'm going to take us back a step, right? I agree with everything you said, but let me also just go on the record and say you are responsible for your success. Okay. I just want to go on record. Mm-hmm. There is the first thing that we always talk about is mindset. And with Phil, we saw a shift in his mindset. And there's about 4 people that I'm working 100%. With right now. And I just want to go on record because we know when everything comes down to the mind. And the first thing is that you said a couple things that I want to unpack for people that I don't want any stone to be unturned. Okay. First of all, what you said is conversations. Well, you have to have meaningful conversations where you can articulate your offer. Okay. If you don't have an offer that you can articulate over the phone, then you don't have sales skills. You have not been properly trained. So in one situation, I have a guy that's doing really good with FSBOs, and FSBOs have dried up. Everything, and listen, guys, I've had this happen to me where my media that I was using in order to get my message out, or my target audience moved. Short sales, there's no more short sales. REO, maybe REOs wash up. There's going to be times when the market shifts, and you're responsible to always have a compelling message. And what Woods just said, which is 100% truth in marketing, we're just scaling the ability to get that message in front of people. And that is ideal. Somebody can watch. The problem with chasing is that you got to chase on Saturday and Sunday. You got to chase on Monday through Friday. Mm-hmm. So if 34% of the time homes are on the market, our clients are at home, our conversations, you have to be like this. Like for me, I made calls on the weekend, then I hired somebody to do that. I made calls from 5 to 8, then I hired somebody to do that. The way I hired that person to do that is because I knew the time that it took. So the mindset, the adopted mindset is if you go all in and do it right from the beginning, you're not going to do it forever. You're inserting yourself in order to document, teach, validate, understand the process, right? And an example, Woods, that I gave instinctively was there's kind of a hybrid here. Because what we're really saying, and Woods, I told you, me and you had this conversation. We had a lot of great concepts. We deliver those to people. Some people get them. Then you say the same thing to this other person, and they don't hear the same thing. So you got to go back and let them know the principles so that they can do it the right way. Here's the reason why. The reason why is it's cash conversion. The number one thing you have to do is shorten the cash conversion cycle when you have nothing. Otherwise, it will take you a long time. Let me explain. The average Facebook lead takes 161 days to convert based upon if you're going towards a cold audience. That's completely different than if you're uploading a data set of people who've been through a divorce that have a high or missed 2 credit card payments, and you're using their platform with your data to target people. But if you're going to the market cold, there's a certain subset of the market, which is 3% of the market that's ready to do business now. These are just stats, 20% that are going to do business over the next 12 months. And why we say again, our goal, here's the goal. Goal number one, establish the ability to put $1 in your business and take $5 out. That's the goal. Why don't the question is why I have $500? Well, it might not take five. It might take, if a real estate commission is worth, let's say, $10,000, then you have zero pipeline. This is what I could not have articulated this to you. In lieu of having passion to help these people, I was going back and I was saying, when a new partner would come on board in 2016, we would have to get an ISA for every partner because of the value proposition. We'd have to establish data in a lead generation strategy that would allow them. But everybody, you remember, everybody ramped up. Everybody ramped up at that point. We defined ramp back then in 2016 as people having 600 people have said yes to this question. Yes, I plan on selling my home in the next 12 months. If you had 600 people in your pipeline, for us, we could predictably, for that person, rely on them to bring 4 listing transactions, listings taken every single month. And as their pipeline decayed, marketing would replenish their pipeline with new people, right? And so the things that they were selling today might be, Crystal, she did 161 nurtures her first 30 days. Crystal, those 161, by into June, a lot of them sold or were ready over time. Some are ready in February, some are ready in March. I believe, Woods, that what you're trying to do is build a pipeline. And in lieu of having a pipeline, that is the common denominator, is that you need to have those conversations that you just pointed out. I'm just giving a little bit of the back context, is that you're going and having conversations because you're collapsing time, right? When you have pipeline, then you're going to have conversations with people that you spoke with in January, in February, and March. So you have no pipeline. So what do we have to do? We have to have conversations to find the 3% of the market, which is a terrible place to be. We don't want to be there, right? But it's like getting in shape. We want to establish the habit to where we can look on the scale and be like, man, you know what? We're losing about 4 to 5 pounds every single week. We're going to be at our goal in 8 months. We had a big goal, and we're going to have to keep doing this every single day. And that's all I want to point out on conversations. And I want to make sure people understand the unfortunate part. And you said this to me last time when I was in the car driving home late last night. I had shared a conversation that I had with one of our partners who helps us provide data. And guys, listen, if you want to know the best data, go to digitalpresident.com/data. Look at I think it's the Geo Plus data where you can get every phone number for a neighborhood. We'll talk about that a little bit later. Put a link in the description. But you were talking to me, Woods, and you said, Mike, we can't make the call for them. We can help them with this. We can help them with that. But at some point you have to know what you're responsible for. And I think that's what you said, Woods. When we help this individual go from kind of a, man, nothing's working, I'm trying everything, what do you suggest I do next? When we helped shift his paradigm and his results started, it was under the pretext that you gave him something that he was now responsible for. You're responsible for your own success. You're responsible for making contacts. You either did the work or you didn't. And if you are in a situation where your pipeline is dry and just like your gas tank in your car is dry, then you either have money to put gas in the tank or you have to come up with a strategy that is going to understand. I have strengths. I have weaknesses. I have opportunities. I have threats. I have to eliminate my threats, take advantage of my opportunities, leverage my strengths. You have to do all that for you. Everybody's different, right? And if you don't get real with yourself up front, real meaning, how am I going to measure my success every day? I can hold you accountable. And if you are a person that's coachable and willing to be account of what you're supposed to do every day, I feel like you can help anybody be success. Anybody. But if you don't do your part, if I say to you, hey, listen, let's make these calls. And Jay has a famous story that he's told for decades where he went to his first coach and said, I'm doing everything you told me to do. I'm saying everything you told me to say. I'm following the script. The guy mailed him a recorder, a cassette tape that went through the through the handheld deal and recorded an old school recorder and listened to the calls. And he said he was saying the script verbatim, and he wasn't. He wasn't. And he was like, boom, he thought he was saying, I mean, you know, he was changing a little thing here that was getting him, he was missing the point. He was missing the most powerful part of the script. And so again, 20 conversations, that's the mechanism. And where I want to talk, what I want to talk about here on today's episode, at some point, I want to come up with what are the best ways to do those. And maybe we can go, you know, ping and pong back and forth so people can get actual, you know, tangible ideas on what to do. This is the point that I'm going to make sure that I point out here, guys. Listen, and I understand. I'm just going back to the conversations I had this week. I'm going to do this. I'm going to make it very clear at each step. What he's saying is, if you have a database, that doesn't mean they're in your sales pipeline, right? And if you have no database, the database, you can create one, but a database is just a list of people, and those people have to get exposed to your offer. And the only way you can expose them to your offer is by making contact and having a conversation to move them to the next stage. And when me and Woods do this without trying to dumb it down for people to understand and make sure they understand the principles, if me and you, Woods, let's say we're going to do an event. We're going to teach people how to write a book. The first thing we're going to do is ask where our audience and who's our hit list, right? Because there's going to be a list of people that we want to expose to this opportunity, right? Because we know we can help people write a book. Here's who they are. And for us, it's not the whole world, right? Not everybody in the whole world wants to write a book. But typically for you, in your real estate business, it's anybody that owns a home, right? I mean, and that's the real truth. And the real truth is that we've known for a long time that if you just go and take every address in a neighborhood, you can proactively find neighborhoods that have a higher probability of selling than your past clients or anything. The very first thing that I did with Josh and Austin, that I'm helping right now do this, he had no idea that you could do this. I have the text on my phone across the room, and the very first thing he said, Woods, is, Mike, I'm about to get 10,000 phone numbers. I can do anything. Should I get 1 year, 2 year, 3 year, 4 year, 5 years, 7 years? How long have they owned the home? Well, here's the thing. He could do one of two things. First of all, in today's market, which is completely different than 2008, in today's market, it's completely different in 2005 when I moved to Frisco and 90% of the homes were less than 2 years old. Today's market, most people have equity. If they've lived in their home for 2 years, they probably got some equity, right? So they can afford to sell. It's probably one of the best times to be able to contact those people. And so for him, going back to your scenario, Woods, I'm going to hand it back to you. But going back to your scenario is you have to identify those people. And you know what I said to him, Woods? The first thing is I said, you know where I would start? Go to, because in this thing where you go to digitalpresident.com/data, this geo target, one of the options that he had was not only the defaults, but he had the option to go back to every home that has expired that has not relisted. Guys, I just went and looked at a house and put an offer on a house that was off the market. The only reason I knew about this house because it was in a neighborhood that I wanted to live in that had expired. It was not on the market. And so I called him, and I called this guy 4 months ago, let's say 3 months ago. The guy literally calls me back and says he's ready to sell now. He wasn't ready to sell then. So that's a hit list with a high probability of selling, but you have to establish what Wood said is that first stage of who you're going after.
All right. Well, this is a really good point. I mean, because, you got to come up with, ultimately, you got to figure out the model for, number one, how are you going to have those conversations? Where are those conversations going to be? Obviously, your conversation's got to be relevant. The quality of the conversation has to result in you being able to make an offer. Your income is elastic to the amount of offers that you put in the marketplace, AKA the number of conversations that you have with people where you make an offer. It's funny because I had a conversation with another agent, and she said, well, I'm calling my past clients. When we actually dug down into the numbers and dug down to the math, which is usually always the case, she wasn't making the volume of calls that she should have, right? So she got clear and started to fix that, actually called me the next day. And lo and behold, she was going on an appointment that she had set because she actually made a goal, hit the goal, had 18 conversations the day before, 13 conversations that day, and was on her way to an appointment. But one of the things that she had mentioned was that she was just kind of following up with her clients and kind of building rapport. She wasn't making an offer, right? She had no offer in the marketplace. And so one of the things that can help you kind of get clear, especially if you are starting from scratch, is like, okay, who is the audience that we're going to target? And what is the offer that we're going to make into that marketplace? Are you going to target people that are, distressed homes, right? That was one of the big targets that I used to focus on, right? Are you going to just target to a specific neighborhood and make a cash offer? Right now there's investors that are literally buying at market value, or even in some cases above market value under certain criteria. So are there people that would be willing to get a cash offer on their home with no obligation, right? So being able to reach out and start making offers to people,
I think those people into your database. I think one thing I want to point out here, Woods, I think you brought up a good point on the contact rate, on the stages. I think that what people are going to be confused about is, and you do this naturally, you do it with everybody, I see you do it all the time, is you have to determine the success equation, right? Whether it's all of these other strategies, the bottom line principle is that there's an equation for success. And you have to be out there doing it, whether it's door hangers. When I did door hangers, there was a certain amount of door hangers, a certain amount of time that it took to put them out. That, again, my time, you're investing your time doing a revenue generating activity. You want to go back to the topic of this discussion is, how do I make money? You make money by investing money into your business to attract, and scaling your offer by getting in front of people, or you make phone calls, you invest your time. One of the things, like Woods was saying, there's things that you can do. There's different messages. The point that I want to point out, Woods, is that, and you know this as well, everything we do, landing page, we look at the math, and the math either works or it doesn't work, right? And you have to look at the math of where you're going to invest your time. Is it 4 open houses equal 1 deal? Is it 10 signs equal 20 people, and 20 people equal 11 that read? You have to find your success equation, right? Now, one thing that we've been talking about was making like the success equation like baseball cards for like the top 10 things you could do. This is something that we've been working on for a couple months now. But again, it's because we know it's that important. The one thing that I think we did best, where we had a guy whose number one job was to quantify literally 18,000 calls a week and give us the numbers. And this is where the 20 conversations came up, is that if you were when we had 18 ISAs doing circle prospecting, for the record, that was calling people and asking them with a very particular offer that identified the people that were interested in selling. When we had that, it scaled with the labor dollar, meaning investing in the person making that phone call, articulating the value proposition to that target audience, going after in stage 1, people not being spoken to. What Woods said is, when a person had 20 conversations, that resulted in X amount of nurtures. That means people who answered yes. And here was the number: 8%, 1 in 12 nurtures turned into a listing. And as you guys know, how many listings actually sell that price their home right? When you know that equation, that conversion, whatever it is, whether it's open house, whether it's circle prospecting, whether it's making this offer when you're calling neighborhoods as opposed to this offer, increases productivity by saying it this way versus that way. Your job, that all I want to point out is, when you're in stage 1 and stage 2, is to identify your value proposition, your sales skills. Sales skills is your ability to articulate it, because whatever you say that works will work in print. Whatever you say that works will work on a video. So when you're doing it over the phone, you're really dialing in how you say it, what you say. You're testing it over and over and over. Oh, when I say it this way, it works better. When I say it that way, it works better. So you have audience that we pointed out, the people that you're going after, which we said there's no excuse. You can You can tweak that by going and tweaking the data. People through a divorce, people who've owned their home for a certain period of time, expireds, FSBOs, people who've defaulted, whatever your audience is, your past client database, which I would say is an audience. It's a great audience to start with. Now you got to make contact with them. You ain't talked to the people in your database in the last 6 months. Things change. Things change. You know, I could say for me and Woods is moving somewhere right now that he had no idea 1 year ago he was going to be moving to. When I moved to Puerto Rico, I had no idea that I was going to be moving here. So if someone would have stayed in contact with me, they would know, and they probably would have known 6 months ago. They would have probably known with Woods 2 months ago that he's going to be in the market to buy or sell a home in the future. And so again, instead of sitting back and trying to look at this top producer and getting caught up into all these tools, I literally have a guy, Woods, that invested money in putting his ad with the QR code in front of the hand sanitizer at the local HEB, right? Our Market Street. Guys, gals, the only way you would do that, I'm not going to even say there is a way, but if there was a way, it'd be because you got on the phone with somebody who told you that they closed X amount of homes and the investment that it cost. Like, you would have to speak to somebody that had done it and sold a home from doing it. And then you would then turn around and call your mentor and ask him what he thought, and maybe two. The sum of your decisions are why you are where you are right now. And the sum of your decisions over the next 6 months are going to be determined on where you are. The name of the game that we play is investing dollars into your business and getting an ROI, being able to pull out 3, 4, 5, or 10. In order to play that game, you got to be able to sit down and play enough hands. And if nobody's ever went on record, not me or not Woods, that said that number is 4 leads or 57 leads. The only thing on record that I'm telling you right now is that it's knowable. And if you run leads until you get a deal and it took you 212 at an average cost of $8, still probably profitable, but probably not going to produce enough deals based upon your goals. And so if you don't have enough money in the bank with the conversion time in order to produce those results, you have to counterbalance your strategy. And the last thing I'm going to say, and this is important, is that for me, Woods, is I made sure that I was doing a healthy investment of my time in revenue generating activities. I woke up every morning. I did door hangers till noon. I went to the office. I made phone calls. Then I had people who came into my marketing from the door hangers that I did, and I called those people back. Everybody left the office at 5. My office was right by the receptionist desk, and the office phone rang afterwards and went into a voicemail. So I would sit in my office and make my calls, and if the front phone rang while I was in there, I'd get up out of my desk and answer the front phone, which was because it was just time on task being there. On my way home, there was a thing called the hot sheet, and every day I never drove home without stopping by 4 expireds or 4 FSBO's house every single day. And even in the beginning, I was putting VHS cassette tapes on their doorstep with my business card. I bought VHS cassette tapes. I bought VHS cassette tapes in bulk, and I dropped them off on the front door, and I never went home. I literally made a path home. And when I was talking to Al Stasic, he said he did the same thing. And the point is that and I knocked on the door to give him the cassette tape. And the point was, the goal is to have a conversation with somebody. And if you're not making enough money in this business, you believe whatever you believe, but it comes down to what Wood said at the beginning. You're not having enough conversations. And so you have to decide what is the most effective way for you to invest in your business. For me and Woods, we're going to invest money. We're going to invest money, but we earn the right to do so. The one thing that takes me out of rapport with somebody quickest is when they feel entitled. When they want to sit up on the top and think they got there without doing the work. There ain't nobody that I know who is at the top that didn't do the work. So Success comes in overalls. The elevator's broken. You're going to have to take the stairs. And the good news is when you get to the top, I promise you it will be worth it. But if you're trying to do it and you're trying to skip steps, I promise you you're going to be disappointed. Because I already know what these individuals are going to say. Oh, well, I'm going to do direct mail. No, you're not. Because first of all, Woods was a lender. He probably had someone paying for the direct mail. And again, just real quick, even if you paid for it, I want to just let me point out a point. It's a SWOT. Strengths, weakness, opportunities. I'm just pointing out a principle here. For a very specific person that's going to be the first one getting this episode. I'm talking to you. You know who you are. I just sent it to you. Woods. Direct mail don't work if you send 10 pieces, correct? Direct mail doesn't work if you have the wrong message, correct? Direct mail doesn't work if you send it to someone who just bought their house, correct? Right? Okay, so the point is, the point that I want to make is what he had a success equation that he had unlocked. And I said it earlier, he uses it still to this day. I'm on the phone. He starts with math. Now, his math might start now with money. Is that a good investment? Are we yielding the investment? The point that I want to make is if you do the same thing with time, if you look at the Baylor University cold call study commissioned by Mr. Keller himself 10 years ago, published in Inman, with an average commission rate of under $5,000, which, so this is a very low commission rate. This is 10 years ago in a very specific market where they cold called. It came up to, and I have the slide, but we'll round it up, but it's give it within 15%. It came up to $350 an hour work calling people cold. Okay. Calling them cold, just calling random people cold. When you quantified the return on those efforts, you cannot make $1 million a year doing $20 an hour work. And you ain't ever going to have any money to invest in your business doing $20 an hour work, because you're going to need that money to pay for your food, your gas, your car, and all your other responsibilities. In order to have money to invest in marketing like direct mail or any other thing, even door hangers. Door hangers, I mowed grass every day. This is what I did. I mowed grass every day till noon. Then I got somebody to mow the grass, and the money I got from the grass that was being mowed by Mario Sanchez, to be specific, and Levi Lassick, to be specific, when they mowed grass, I collected the money. I invested in door hangers with the money that I got from them mowing grass. And those door hangers then yielded me a return. When you get started, you're trying to figure out your equation, and you cannot do that. Listen, the most successful person in real estate, in my belief, is the most organized person. And you cannot be organized doing too much. The Roman Empire, the collapse, they start trying to grow too big. They go outside of their territory. They lose the ability to stay organized. When you're first starting, you have so many things going on. When you get into marketing, there's a lot of different moving pieces. You will not see people. They will have the tip of the spear, right? The tip of the spear. They will have a very focused effort. You have to be focused, laser-eyed at the target. And I promise you, the very first thing is pick one, whether it's open house, whether it's circle prospecting, whether it's doing door hangers, whatever it is that you're going to focus on. And find out what is and stay the course. Say, I'm going to do open houses till I close a deal, and I'm going to track every hour, every minute. I'm going to follow the system. I'm not going to put out 3 signs and do the house back here in the neighborhood that nobody knows about. I'm going to do the one right on the corner off the main road by the stoplight. Use the best practices, right? Use the best practices, and then stay the course and be consistent until you get a deal. And then rework the numbers. And I promise you, you'll realize that when you look at even calling people cold, the reason why agents fail is they're not doing the right activities daily. And if they are, they're not doing them enough in alignment with the result they're looking to obtain. And it's always better to be front end loaded. Me and Woods always duck our heads. We're like, we can do anything for 90 days. We're going to duck our head for the next 30 days. This is going to be the best month ever. Some of our biggest successes come from locking ourselves in the room and doing grindy, hard, no fun work that nobody sees. They see the end result, but they don't see that. And that's what you have to do, is you got to fall in love with the process and not try to skip steps. And I'm telling you right now, whether it's 57 leads, whether it's, well, I emailed them. I emailed my leads. Did you call them? Did you call them 3 times, 16 times, 12 times? Red is dead, green is sold. You have to imagine that if you unlock that equation, then all you have to do is then factor in the things that you hated about that entire process and hire somebody to do that. And you can hire somebody to do that if you know the math and how much time it took. If you were like, okay, well, that really sucked. I mean, it took 500 calls a day. It took 6,600 door hangers to actually get a listing. That sucked. But I can pay someone a nickel a door hanger. A nickel door hanger is going to be $660 to get a client. $660 to get a client at a $15,000 commission. That's where about less than a 25% referral. I might be onto something here. The biggest constraint in your business is your own thinking. It's never the problem. It's how you're thinking about the problem. And the problem with people when they first start is they don't understand what they're responsible for. You're responsible for having an offer, being able to articulate that offer, and getting that offer in front of people. If you can't pay to do that, then you have to do it verbally. And that's what we said. It's a contact sport. That's it. It's a contact sport. You got to make contact.